The ICC indicted Israeli Prime Minister was greeted in the assembly by loud applause from his delegation and guests in the visitors' gallery, but also a stream of diplomats exiting the room, including South Africa's ambassador, who boycotted his speech.
Israel rebounded from its darkest day to deliver one of the most stunning military comebacks in history. But we're not done yet. The final elements, the final remnants of Hamas are holed up in Gaza City. They vow to repeat the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again, no matter how diminished their forces. That is why Israel must finish the job. That is why we want to do so as fast as possible.
While vowing to never rest until all the hostages were home, he again rejected the growing body of evidence that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza, and any notion that Israel was starving people in the enclave, despite an integrated food classification determination of famine affecting hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza amid continued mass displacement in the enclave.
Take the false charge of genocide. Israel is accused of deliberately targeting civilians. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposite is true. The head of urban warfare studies, Colonel John Spencer, he's perhaps the world's greatest expert on urban warfare. And he says, Israel is applying more measures to minimize civilian casualties than any military in history. And because we're doing that, the ratio of non-combatant to combatant casualties is less than 2 to 1 in Gaza. That's an astoundingly low ratio, lower than NATO's wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, especially when you consider that Gaza is one of the most densely populated urban areas on Earth.
That ratio is widely disputed, with credible reports in August of an analysis of the Israeli Defense Force's own internal database pointing to over 80% of people killed in Gaza being civilians, a ratio near UN Human Rights Office estimates that over 70% of those killed were women and children, while Netanyahu had sharp words for countries recognizing the State of Palestine this week.
You know what message the leaders who recognize the Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians? It's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off. Well, I have a message for these leaders. When the most savage terrorists on earth are effusively praising your decision, you didn't do something right. You did something wrong, horribly wrong. Your disgraceful decision will encourage terrorism against Jews and against innocent people everywhere. It will be a mark of shame on all of you.
On Thursday, Palestine's president addressed the assembly virtually from Ramallah after being denied a visa to travel to the United States.
Despite all what our people have suffered, we reject what Hamas carried out on the 7th of October. These actions that targeted Israeli civilians and took them hostages, because these actions do not represent the Palestinian people, nor do they represent their just struggle for freedom and independence. We have affirmed, and we will continue to affirm, that the Gaza Strip is an integral part of the State of Palestine, and that we are ready to bear full responsibility for governance and security there. Hamas will not have a role to play in governance. Hamas and other factions will have to hand over their weapons to the Palestinian National Authority as part of a process to build the institutions of a one state, one law, and one legal security forces. We reiterate that we do not want an armed state.
Speaking in the Assembly earlier this week, President Cyril Ramaphosa affirmed that, consistent with its case at the International Court of Justice, there was growing global consensus that Israel was committing genocide in Gaza, including from a recent UN Independent Commission of Inquiry report under the chairship of former UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Navi Pillay. Ramaphosa also reminded UN member states that they had the ultimate responsibility to ensure and protect the rights of Palestinian people to self-determination. Ambassador Mahmoud also told us that the walkout by diplomats was a reciprocal message to Israel that its actions were not acceptable and that the international system and international law must be respected. Sherban Riceby's SABC News, New York.